Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Matt Salem, and you've tuned in to another episode of Our Best Behavior, brought to you by Behaviorally. We are the global digital first leader in providing data intelligence through our AI and tech enabled product stack to help brands own the most valuable moment in marketing, the purchase transaction. We are Behaviorally, the transaction experts. Each episode, we share insights on trending topics within our industry and of interest to our customers. Today, we're joined by Kate Cook, an AI marketing consultant with over 20 years in marketing and communications. Kate has a proven track record of launching and guiding successful digital initiatives and a unique background combining marketing, technology, strategic planning, business development, and creative design, all while leveraging the potential of AI and machine learning solutions. Kate, really excited to have you here. Thanks so much for joining today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, it's our pleasure for sure. And I was thinking about this today, and I think I've said this once or twice on the podcast because it continues to ring true. But when we had our introductory call, I remember literally thinking, if not saying out loud, this could be the podcast right now because that's how it happens sometimes, right? The conversation's natural. We were talking about a lot of cool subject matter tied to what we would be doing today. And, I was thinking back to that, and it always makes me laugh because I'm like, we're kind of doing two podcasts, but we're only airing one of them. So thanks for being here to do the second one, if you will, with me. Thinking about that discussion, I really did love it. There was a lot of great content, and I was hoping maybe we could, before diving in, start with your consultancy, Era 7 Partners. And I know you're working with marketing teams, a variety of companies, of course, and agencies, and you're really helping folks shape their AI strategies. And that'll be a big piece of today's topic. So tell me a bit more about Era 7 Partners, if you will, and really maybe at the starting point of how it came to be.
Yeah. So actually, it's been about a year since I left corporate America. I sort of had an epiphany about a year ago that I had a new path I needed to walk down. So in the summer after I left my previous job, I studied machine learning. I really wanted to understand fundamentally how AI technologies work so that I could translate for marketing teams, agencies, people who didn't have experience in the tech sector, and really help to sort of bring those companies into the future. The time is really now, I think, for everyone to start to incorporate AI automation into their workflows, into their businesses, sort of into the core of what they do. But it's not always easy to know where to start. And so I wanted to be both the starting place for people who are beginning to explore, experiment, pilot programs, and then also for those who are a little further along, help them find new avenues, new partners, new solutions, new way to do things. So that's really where it came about, and so far it's been actually going great. I think I'm a little early, and there's a few others who are working in this space. I think focused on the sort of media marketing vertical. There's not too many of us out here right now in this capacity. So it's been really interesting to be at the leading edge of sort of a new cottage industry bubbling up around AI and consulting.
That's awesome. I mean, I love the brave step that you took to follow that kind of inner voice that you heard in terms of like, hey, now is the time. Now's the time to do your thing. And I really do genuinely appreciate that. I think about the role of AI here at Behaviorally, also with some of our clients. And it varies in terms of its utilization, meaning sometimes it could lend to operational efficiency, right? Helping automate mundane tasks or ones that are redundant and repetitive in nature. It could tie into product development and literally being utilized as part of a product offering to a client. It could be me at my desk trying to get ideas together for a meeting that I have or for a new opportunity that I'm trying to communicate to a client or maybe even an internal business partner. So I guess my point being there's a variety of ways that we could think about leveraging AI. And I love how you're focused on how making sure that the strategy is there for your partners. And I was hoping you could tell me your thought process around that. How are you working with clients in that regard to ensure that they have a comprehensive AI strategy and one that ties, not only into their company values, but also into what's most relevant to what they're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting also to be in the marketing sort of marketing media space because marketers tend to be at the leading edge, so to speak, of adoption in companies. They're where the consumer data lives. They have budgets going out the door. They tend to be more experimental, creative. And so a lot of the generative AI tools that companies experiment, they find a lot of that experimentation is happening within marketing. So it's a great place to be to sort of start. And I think in a lot of cases, some of what the marketing teams are experimenting with and exploring ends up rippling out to other areas of the company, and can be picked up and used in different places. But I think going back to your question about strategy and why it's important, I have this chart that I show when I'm meeting with clients, and it's basically all of the AI companies in 2024 as of today, and it's a complete eyesore. It's impossible to even see the logos, right? And I think what I like to say is if you take a dart and you throw it at that chart and try to hit something, let's pilot something. This person reached out to me. You're kind of lost in a sea of options. You don't know the context or the space that you're in, and you haven't really thought about, how is this going to impact my workforce, my processes, the other technologies that we're using. And so, where I like to encourage companies to start and what we work on together is thinking through, okay, what do we need today? What are our roadblocks? Where are the bottlenecks? What are the things that we do that take too much time? Where is the experimentation and the innovation of our workforce directed toward? And we actually do a survey and find out what people are thinking that work there as a baseline to start, and then from there build a strategy. What's interesting about strategy in this space is that everything's changing all the time, and we all who are following the news and AI see that every day. It's incredible the pace of innovation happening. It's really a race between some of the top companies to outperform in terms of model capabilities, to outperform in terms of even the spaces the models play in, multimodal, right? Do they work with images, videos? They're starting to develop agent-like capabilities where they can do tasks for us, and that's going to be another space. So all that is to say that it changes so fast. The strategy for year one might look a little crystal clear. The strategy as it moves into year two might be a little fuzzier. But in taking all that into consideration, you have to have a strategy so you have a path to walk down and you don't get sort of lost in the news cycle around everything that's happening in the AI space.
Yeah, the dartboard, if you will, of all the options that are out there, and I could see in my mind's eye the visual because you nicely shared it with me in that introductory call. And wow, I didn't expect it to be as cluttered and as large as it was. Like seeing that really is an eye opener in every sense of the term. So, very interesting perspective there. And you brought up workforce, you brought up agents, and you
Mhm.
also brought up how you're interviewing your clients in order to understand what their internal folks are telling you, which sounds extremely smart to me. And I bring up those three pieces because a lot of times conversations around AI are naturally going down the direction of how is it going to impact me and my job? Right. So we
Mhm.
constantly hear concern out there, is AI going to take over and eliminate jobs? And, I'm curious how that comes up in the conversations that you're having with your clients, or is there a common concern for that you hear voice? Well, my employees, I don't know how they're going to react, or whatever kind of road that travels down, that concern for jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that bubbles up in pretty much every conversation. And I think part of that is because there is this sort of sensationalism in the news cycle around AI replacing us. But there are a couple of things that I really return to and I believe that I share with the folks that I'm working with to help calm some of those fears, be they rational or irrational, right? I think one is there's this sort of personification about AI because of the way that ChatGPT launched it into the world as a sort of person like voice that you communicate with in the same way that you chat with your friends. And the truth of the matter is that it is in no way a person. It is a tool. And if you look at the way that models are built, and I know you got into this in one of your previous conversations, they're intentionally built to look backward in time and predict the most likely answer. So the thing that people have that these entities that, we give names called large language models don't have is the ability to have new ideas, to be really truly creative, to plug into the culture, or a moment in time. Um, Irony, all of these things that we have, decision making power, those are the things that we inherently have as human beings that the bots do not have and will not have for a very long time, if they ever do at all. And so they're not replacing us, but the skills of using AI are things that people, professionals, need to develop today. Because, as the famous quote goes that is shared so often in these circles and in these conversations, so AI will not take your job, someone using AI will take your job.
Right.
And if you think about it, it's been true with technology through all of human history. I mean, if you think about someone doing their job with a computer versus on paper, people who have computer skills have been, moving up through the ranks, of work ever since the computer became something that sits on your desktop, right? So, what is important about having a strategy, leading this all back, is that your workforce is looking for the opportunity to train themselves on AI skills, to gain expertise in this world. And if they're coming to work every day and they're getting that working with you, then they're going to be happier in their jobs. I think companies that are pulling back and afraid to dive in or sitting to the sidelines waiting to see where everything goes, they may experience more attrition, right? Or a more difficulty in recruiting because they don't offer the things that, and especially younger skilled workers, are looking for in today's world.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with all you just said there. The last comments made in particular, and it's interesting to me. I was kind of laughing. Maybe for those in the YouTube realm watching this, you could have seen my smile, but on the audio only realm, you wouldn't have seen it. But you were mentioning computers and how that really changed the game, and it's funny because thinking back, years ago when you were interviewing folks, you would see on resumes extreme proficiency in PowerPoint or Excel. And now it's like, who puts that on their resume? Like you're supposed to have that almost, right? So it's kind of funny how things evolve, but it's a great point nonetheless, because that is a great analogy, right? When we went from paper to computer, that was an important piece. Like you're proficient. Now it's, hey, I understand how to use prompts in order to get the best out of AI to help support XYZ job function, right? So very interesting to me. And that dovetails nicely into another question that I had for you today, which is when we think about cultivating a culture internally that embraces AI, we
Mhm.
have all of these folks out there that are afraid of AI coming into the workplace, right? I mean, there's a set of us that are not. I think you and I are included in that set, Kate, but there's plenty of people out there that are still worried about it. So, what can businesses do? What are some of the tips that you would give, I guess, for cultivating a culture that embraces AI?
Yeah. To me, it's actually a roundabout way of getting there. And the way of getting there is to have a policy. So, companies have policies around different things. I know a lot of companies in the last 10 years put social media policies together, so that their employees would know how to post on social media about the things going on in their company. This is not dissimilar from that. Once you give employees the rules of the road, then they feel free to innovate. I think what's happening right now in a lot of companies is that people are using tools that they use to experiment with in their everyday lives. Pretty much everyone I know uses ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Probably they use it at work, right? they do need to know that you can't put sensitive company information inside of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
the web interface of ChatGPT, because it potentially leaks out into the training data. It could be resurfaced to another user at another time. That's what the whole New York Times lawsuit is about against OpenAI, them having crawled articles that were behind the paywall and been able to surface those to back to New York Times when they were testing the model to see what it would do. So I think, knowing what you can and cannot put into ChatGPT then allows people to feel free to think about how to use it in new ways, right? And that to me is how you spark a culture of experimentation. um, Providing skills and trainings is another way. So having
Mm,
an expert come in or have a team of people inside of your company who believe in AI, who are excited about the future, put together a series of trainings or a series of meetings where you really talk about how do you get the most out of these models. That is another way to do it. And then, I think I'd add a third, which is to sort of broaden your idea of what AI is outside of I use Chat GPT and Stable Diffusion and this and that, right? Because there's so many tools out there that do things in completely new ways, that will blow your mind once you really have an understanding, and that because they're not OpenAI's tools on the internet, have safety protocols that make them safer for businesses to use.
mm.
So, thinking about how you can take time spent on repetitive and data centric tasks off of your plate so that you can then use your time to be more innovative, to be more creative. That's, really when you're winning and when the technology is doing what it ought to for your company.
Yeah. I guess spitting off of that a bit, whether we're thinking about businesses or just individuals, what are some guidelines that you would have for people to start taking steps or businesses to start taking steps to learn more about AI, to learn more about the effective utilization of it? Perhaps what is safer to use from a business standpoint versus a personal standpoint where you could have the liberty to explore a bit more and not have to worry about exposing sensitive data, company data, et cetera?
So, in terms of learning resources, there's a couple that I generally point people toward. I think, business workshops that really delve into what are the business applications of AI. Those are really helpful, I think, because they tend to be a little bit shorter and focused for busy people. So some of those are, potentially Section School, Scott Galloway's company. There's also the Marketing AI Institute, who I love, that does a series of trainings that really are hands-on approaches on, sort of how you can implement AI strategy and practices in your company. But then there really is also a level of just understanding of what these models are, how they work, what they can do, how to build them. Because AI is taking over a lot of the coding work away from human workers, good or bad, depending on how you think about that, it does open up the ability for the average person without coding skills to begin to create AI systems. And that to me is very exciting. And I think those are kind of higher order skills that if you have a passion for this, you can go to places like deeplearning.ai, which is a wonderful organization by Andrew Ning, where they have tons of workshops that really, some of them are for more technical people, some of them are for more lay people that don't have really coding skills, but you can really learn how to build systems. And that opens up your purview to really
Mm.
think about how these can apply to making your life easier or your job easier.
Very cool. So now I need to ask on a personal basis. I'll give an example myself as we begin to close out here. How do you like to use AI personally in your everyday life? For me, just thinking of an example, right? Very recently, I was using it because I wanted to do a last minute road trip for the weekend. So you can basically give a prompt like, I live in Wayne, New Jersey. I want to know what's a reasonable road trip if I need to leave at 9 o'clock Saturday morning and get back by 5 o'clock Sunday night. That incorporates some good places to eat and a hike outdoors. And lo and behold, you get a great answer from it, right? So those quick kind of travel planning assessments are cool. I've used it like that more than once. Sadly, I haven't gotten too far, but that's not the fault of the AI. But with that being said, recipes I know is another one. Like, oh, I've got all this stuff in the fridge. Are you using it in any particular way more consistently in your personal life?
Definitely using the recipes. And the thing I love about the recipes is that, on a lot of these apps, you have to scroll 1,000 times to get to because they want the sort of, metrics on you having
Yep.
landed on their page. Um, Another thing that I use that I think is kind of interesting is I use Pi as kind of a friend or a shoulder to lean on. Pi is a great app that is very conversational and empathetic. So at the end of a long day, I have two small children. After I've finally got them into bed, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm just exhausted and I'm pissed about something that happened that day and I just need to get it out. I open Pi and I just kind of unleash, and Pi is, so understanding and actually prompts me to work through problems. So that's another one that I've used where, my partner or a friend is probably not going to be there for me at 9 o'clock at night when they're tired and probably frustrated too.
Okay, mentally noted because the end of your day sounds eerily similar to the end of my day. So, with that being said, pie is something that I need to check out for
Check it out.
sure. Will do. Will do. Well, Kate, I really want to thank you for coming on Our Best Behavior with us. It's been great chatting with you. I've really enjoyed the conversation. To our guests, thank you for tuning in and listening to Our Best Behavior, brought to you by Behaviorally. Kate, thanks again for your time today, for your insights, the conversation. Be sure to check us out and check out other episodes of Our Best Behavior podcast. You could find it on our website. You'll probably see it on LinkedIn here and there. And I know we could find Kate on LinkedIn as well. So thanks again. And to our audience, we'll catch you next time.
Thank you.